My father would often beam at how he sent some goons to beat up my aunt's boyfriend, who was domestically violent to her. He always warned that he knew people who hurt people, and it was not just my sister. He would toss often whenever I started to say how badly he treated me that he knew people that protected him. And when I say it was not just my sister, it's because he would call her his bitch or guard dog and threatened to launch her towards me because she was known for being really nasty on letters. Yet, when I realized my mother and I were being followed, I got scared. This time it was not my dad or his wife dropping their veil on their toxic marriage that somehow always looked smiley for Facebook. This was serious. What do we do? I asked. Ignore it, my mother said. What are they going to get? We do nothing. It was a strange Harvey Weinstein tactic my father used to keep tabs on his victims. He has them followed, investigated, and keeps score on what he can use if they ever try to turn on him. Yet my mom and I were not knives sharpening against him. In fact, he was the one that cut us. She was his wife, and technically still his wife, as they never divorced or even filed for annulment, which might explain why he always held out hope that he could just march back into her bed, bag and all. Still, I was upset because my father had a way of really thinking he always was the victim. Mom, I do not want some random asshole following me, I declared. I had noticed I was being followed by a guy when he entered the same train as me. The problem is I had seen him around my house as I went to work and now going out, and this older guy was not an ex, nor sent by one. Luckily, my exes were good about keeping things done. Then he followed my mom, and we both knew. Daddy. My father had taken so badly my mother's silent treatment that we moved. The knocks every day for her to open, the slips of letters complaining about how miserable he was with his other family, and the occasional visit uh, of his other wife looking for him, but thinking she was unnoticeable was overwhelming. She was strange and would do things like post pictures near our home on Facebook to say she was so happy to visit friends, or it was like she thought she was sending us a message to stay away from him, but it was really the opposite message. She was not going to stay away from us. When my mother's job moved her to another location, Mr. H found her and his wife found her a new apartment, of which she took a picture of our bodega and said something to the likes of happy to be in my old neighborhood. The problem is, unless she was a devout Jewish woman, it was not her town. My mother had gone from our beloved BX to BK and found the only apartment in a Jewish neighborhood willing to sell to anyone that was not. Sometimes I wondered if it was because they needed a designated person to turn on and off the lights on the weekends/holy days. On those days, they cannot use things like electricity or do any labor in honor of God's rest. And apparently, God resting meant we could not. But we were happy to pick up a box for a neighbor. Still, I hated being victim to a horrible marriage of two deeply malicious people that were so desperate to protect their image in front of friends and their kids, but did not see their stalking was outing them. We left their world. Why did they think they had to investigate and threaten ours? Mom, we have to do something, I said as if I knew what. My father was a powerful parking violations lawyer. While he had had bad reviews and been disbarred for stealing from clients, he was charismatic and kept friends where he needed to. I do not want him to shame or kill us, Deandra, my mother said. Just ignore it, live your life, and he will get tired. Her voice dropped in such a level of seriousness that it hit me. That was the thing about my mother's approach to my father, and at times his other wife's dangerousness. Silence was safer. And I felt like she was oddly right, because if my father had to kill me to keep his reputation and money, he totally would. Yet he would send someone to do it, because cowards hire people to hide what they did to their victims. They never just leave their victims alone. All right, let's heal, let's discuss. It's actually a fear of mine that my father will end my life or my mother's. I really mean that, because my father is very greedy and very evil and has this way of thinking he's a victim in anything. If we don't talk to him, he's a victim. If we do talk to him, he's a victim. Like, he has dumped on us and made us this emblem of this phenomenal life that he was going to have had my mother just fought for him. And me as his daughter understood his predicament and not wedged in between the love of his life and him, because he really blamed me for why my mother would kind of distance herself from him. But I don't think he saw that, like, she just really wanted me to have a relationship with him, and I did too. And my father, as you see countless times again and again on Daddy Recovery, he punishes and he tortures and he plots against you. And when he said about the getting his sister's boyfriend beat up, it was like this smirk, like, I got this, very mob esque. He would use words like, that's a rat. He just loved the idea of ending people, especially if they thought they could end him or someone he loved. And it's scary because he hired a private investigator, and his wife did do some voodoo against us. She left some trinkets. I don't know if I should send it back to her via UPS. But it was these two people that were desperate to make their marriage look good and saw us like a blemish. They didn't see us as people they were hurting, they saw us as things that hurt them. Themes, topics from their marriage that proved it wasn't good, that they had to be mentally unhealthy to love each other, or at least fake it. And when I noticed we were being followed, my mother had felt it too. And then I caught him. Like, I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy on the train. And then he left. And my mother's job had moved her, and right there was Mr. H. We moved to a building. We were living in the Bronx. We had always lived in the Bronx, and my mother moved to Brooklyn, and this was a very, very, very Jewish neighborhood. Like, I don't even know how we got this apartment, because when we even went in, and they, how, like, Jewish men, they don't hold your hand, like shake your hand, they don't look you in the eyes. Like, they were Hasidic Jews, I believe. And I laugh because I really do think that we just became like the designated every like Sunday or so. Can you turn off the lights? Can you pick up the boxes? And we were happy to do it, especially because the dinners were so beautiful. Like, you could see outside the window all these candle lights and beautiful singing and just this energy of family and love. And we needed that. We needed that energy because we felt very lonely with my mother's family being in Puerto Rico. And they're not the healthiest people either, right? But we're alone here. And over there were many, and here were two. And we just felt extremely endangered because I never felt that my father wouldn't kill me. I never felt that. And sometimes the reasons I was so nice to him and gentle is that my father would have me killed and then cry and use me as this story of how he lost a daughter. And he did the same thing. One of the reasons I reconnected with him is that I found out he had gotten really sick. And my sister sent me that message of, it's time for you to know the real truth. And a few years later, he got really, really sick again. And I thought it was what I was supposed to do. You're supposed to be good. You're a good daughter, does not let their father die, and not try to reconcile and forgive. And so I ignored that he would kill me. And when he mistreated me and took back to all that verbal assaulting and plotting, I realized he had told his family, particularly my siblings, that I was horrible. And they believed him because he paid them. I mean, he bought them the world. Why shouldn't they believe their money? And they don't mind if he treats me bad because he got them through school, right? And it sucks to feel, and I'll say it right now, if anything bad happens to me or my mom, it was my father. 100%, it was my father. And it's really, really terrifying as a victim to live under that that somebody could end you because you know they're not that nice, that somebody could come after you and destroy your life and destroy what you've built despite them, despite the other ways they have tried to destroy you. They could come and end your life because you know that they like doing that, that they enjoy doing that. I mean, my father smirked at that story. And obviously, it's one of those things where he does look kind of heroic. I mean, this was a guy beating his sister. But it's one of those things where, like, even the villain can do something nice. You know, like, I'm sure Lex Luthor was occasionally kind to Superman, like, if you watch Smallville. But that freaks me out. That freaks me out. And to live like that, knowing that if these people will never forget us, and in turn we can't forget them, because you just never know when they'll get an idea in their head and try to hurt us and end our lives. And for my life to be ended because I was a victim, because I was born to an evil man, is crazy and deeply, deeply tragic. And it scares me. It really does scare me. Because it's just like, that can't be the ending of my story. I still haven't even started my story. And I did nothing. I did nothing but exist. Exist. And they just see my existence as proof that their marriage is not good. And you can erase proof if you forget that it's a person. So check out daddyrecovery.com for my stories. Check out Deanne's Reviews It All for my reviews. And follow. Thank you.